Hey guys, this is Rick. I know this is a little late to talk about, but I'd still like to bring it up, the topic of social disruption in the Bitcoin community. We saw this a lot in the Pirate Party, and so I'd like to share the experience of how we dealt with it in the Pirate Party, because it can be dealt with. You know, when we had our initial policy discussions in the Pirate Party, as in we had come to the conclusion that the copyright monopoly was a governmentally granted private monopoly and so illegitimate at its very foundation, and so on and so forth, and started discussing how we could dismantle this in society while minimizing overall disruption to existing economic actors. Every once in a while there would be these new people who would just jump into the discussion, go all up in arms and write in all uppercase, but how will the artists get paid? And everybody would draw a collective sigh of exhaustion and say, look, this is like 10 steps earlier in this discussion. Please look at these and these and these and these and the resources. This is not even relevant to what we're discussing here. But how will the artists get paid? I mean, this was such a ridiculous question that we started parodying it from every single angle. But it still kept reappearing, and importantly, it still kept disrupting discussions. It would later turn out that the people doing this were actually deliberately setting out to disrupt our discussions. They were literally setting out to poison the discussion environment, not to be convinced. So, initially, as a party leader and a founder of the Pirate Party, I thought this was just, useful target practice. I even used those very words, as in, okay, these are the questions you're gonna get on the street. You're seeing them sort of jump in randomly. That's good target practice. Practice your reflexes. You should be able to answer this even if somebody wakes you up in the middle of work. So, just let them keep at it. That turned out to be a mistake. Gradually, the people who wanted some fruitful discussion would leave, and these disruptors would claim a larger and larger share of the online discussion mindset. And you didn't notice the intelligent people who wanted fruitful discussion leaving. So this is a rather insidious form of attack, and it's very, very prevalent. And what's noticeable is that some people are deliberately playing both sides of a discussion at the same time, and trying to inflame both sides of a discussion, trying to polarize the environment and prevent any kind of compromise or senseful discussion that attempts to reach a common ground. The goal of this kind of disruption is to prevent any common ground to be reached. You saw this with One Meg Greg, for example, who was playing to be CSW's friend with one account and the worst enemy of CSW with another account. These are tactics that also have been seen in classic troll factories trying to manufacture dissent at the national level. You have very big state actors pulling off these very tactics, trying to prevent common ground from being reached by poisoning the discussion environment and by polarizing the debate, pulling everybody apart from the common ground. So how did we solve this in the Pirate Party? Because we did solve it. One form which the Bitcoin community has started resorting to some extent is closed discussions, where you're not letting new people in, so these people cannot disrupt the discussions. That's a short-term solution that works for some very limited applications, because it also shuts down recruitment of new activists, new contributors. new people into the movement, and you want to have an activation ladder, a figurative activation ladder where people can easily climb every single step of this ladder without the next step suddenly being out of reach. It's been observed, I think I saw this in a TEDx talk or a TED talk first time, that new contributors to any online discussion tend to start a negative reputation. If you're contributing anonymously online today, your reputation is negative by default. This observation has not helped the Bitcoin community, because new contributors like the infamous contrarian, now infamous contrarian, start out making a lot of sense, providing a lot of insight, seemingly being an intelligent contributor who can provide a balanced nuances to various aspects of the discussion, and then turn out to be a purebred disruptor. So it is possible for bad actors, for bad faith actors, to sort of, well, infiltrate is a strong word, but look like a positive contributor while they have everything else in mind than being a positive contributor. The real remedy to this is something as old school as face-to-face meetings. And you're thinking now that face-to-face, that is so analog. You can't possibly be analog in this century. Well, yeah, but we were the pirate party. The internet is what we do. That's what sets us apart from everybody else, that we were literally standing head and shoulders above everybody else in the field of politics as far as internet understanding goes. But what this gives you, and this is key, once you have met somebody in person, then you can collaborate with that person on a completely different level. This goes into our social wiring, this goes into our collaborative wiring, this goes into who we are as human beings, how we're hardwired to work and operate. And what this also gives you is that if you have not seen the face, heard the voice, observed the gestures of somebody who's presenting a narrative online, then you can just turn on a filter and say, sorry, I'm only interacting with people I've met in this particular discussion. And that works. As simple as it is, that works. And you can sort of leave the noisy environment or noisier environment where new activists are being recruited to being lower on this activation ladder I described. And it's okay to keep it lower on the activation ladder. In the Pirate Party, we did this with local meetups. We would have meetups in every city, every town, every little district. This is happening in Bitcoin too. And I want to encourage it. Because again, this is how you really build a movement. If I've had coffee or had drinks or had beer with somebody, then I'm much more likely to engage with them online. And once you apply this hard filter, sorry, contrarian, I have no idea who you are, and until I know, I'm not going to engage in this discussion with you. Then what that'll do is to just cut off this kind of disruption. And I want to emphasize that it is very real. I mean, in the Pirate Party, there were even people strutting about in pride after having disrupted our communications. And it turns out that they were activists from other political parties. They had just joined our online discussion forums deliberately to destroy our discussion environment. This is real. And you're shutting it out by requiring to have met somebody online. Now, this is not waterproof. You can still meet somebody and they can still be a fucking asshole, to be honest. But, it's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. At least you're shutting those out that are pretending to be multiple people, that are pretending to be somebody they aren't, and who are generally deliberately trying to amplify their own online presence through mechanisms of the net that you can filter out by mechanisms not of the net. Now, the Bitcoin meetups aren't everywhere at this time. They are certainly not out on the countryside. They tend to be focused in the large cities. So as a follow-up topic to this one, I'm going to provide some tips and tricks on how just we organized these meetups and made it possible to collaborate on scale across both small meetups and vertically, how you combine many small meetups at scale into a coherent movement.